Good morning. How are you? How are you doing? I'm going to record this as a video, as a live, but I'm also recording it as a podcast as well. Because I always say this, don't I? I like my content to be shareable and can be repurposed and all of that good stuff. So today I'm going to be talking about something which feels very poignant, because today marks the day that we moved into our house 10 years ago. Don't worry, this is not going to be a I love my man because, or we have all of this sorted, because clearly everything is all a work in progress. And who I was and what I wanted from life at 29 is probably quite different to who I am at 39, but it's all good. This is going to be really poignant if you are in a period of reflection. If you're looking for some pointers in terms of your business, in terms of your personal brand, some of the things you may relate to, because I'm going to be sharing these in terms of journaling prompts. So if you want to grab a piece of paper and a pen, you're absolutely welcome to do so. And by sharing a bit of story, I am a storyteller. That's what I would say that I am. Hopefully some bits will resonate with you and you'll be able to take them away. So 10 years ago, we moved in here. And this is the first point that I want to make. Even though I was thrilled to be moving in here, I was thrilled to be moving in with a boy, I was in deep grief. And I was in such a funk, I would say, in my life. I didn't know what was working, what I was doing. I felt really stuck. I felt overwhelmed, and it kept coming back to that sense of grief as well. I'd lost some people who were very close to me in my life, and it was a lot. It was a lot to process. And I know sometimes people would say, just have the funeral and it will be fine and you'll get back to normal. But I couldn't shake it, and I couldn't get to a stage where it felt easy, where it felt logical. And I really felt like I had to ride it and sit in that moment, and it was really tough. So this is my first point that I want to make, especially now, especially when we're probably all tired after 2020, or maybe you've recently changed career, or you've lost your job, or you've just had a baby, or you've had health problems, or there's been, life has thrown you some stuff. My first thing I want to share with you is you just have to work with what you have. And I know people want to talk about dream life, and, people might be saying, when I made my first million, or this nomadic lifestyle, or the kind of shiny Instagrammable influencer stuff, what you're feeling right now may not be that. And so working with what you have is where you can be, and where you can enjoy, because you can track that progress really, really easily. So working with what I have was actually sitting at my desk every day, was making sure that I was having good food, was making sure that I got dressed, or I phoned a pal if I was feeling really low. It was those sort of moments of taking responsibility and being really easy and kind and gentle with myself. Because this is a process. This is not like, one day I feel terrible and the next I'm really springy. We're looking for that consistency. So work with what you have. Number 2, when we moved in here, we actually had a bigger place than we needed at the time. It was just the two of us. But I knew that, and I hoped as well that we would be lucky enough to have children. And so even when at that point of doing the numbers and figuring out what we would need to do, actually having things in place and doing those numbers, it wasn't actually that much more, very insignificant actually, to get this place rather than somewhere which was like a 1-bedroom for what we needed right then. And that 2011 version of myself, I am so grateful for. And because I had that boldness, I guess, in myself, and probably I had to convince Matty as well, because he'd be like, why do we need that more space? But it was so good at the time because I set myself up for the next chapter. So then when I had my baby in 2015, and then I had my second one in 2019, we were able to be here and all the rest of it. Now, I know that that is not always practical in terms of you don't know where you're going to be in the next 10 years, but this was a really good move for us. And I think this is an important way to see this capacity in terms of your business. And so even though in the here and now, in whatever it is that you're doing, you might be thinking, well, I'll just plan for now, or I'll just keep it safe. Please just have that where you're going, what you want to do in the back of your head. So you're working towards that capacity. You're imagining that it's possible. So I often use the analogy of running. When I wanted to run 5K and I was running like for the first minute and it felt awful, I sometimes needed to scroll through to the app where it said, in 9 weeks, you'll be able to run 5K. Because I needed to see that it was possible and I needed to believe that I had the capacity for that. Number 3, if you've just joined, I'm talking about us living in this house for 10 years and how it's related to business. Number 3, I had to create space for my dreams. That sounds very whimsical, but sometimes it's getting a desk, which I got from IKEA. It's a flat piece of wood and I bought 4 legs for it. It cost me £25. I still have the same desk. I absolutely love it because it's really deep, it's really wide. I'm not one of those people who can work on those little school desks because I like to have stuff out. I like to be very visual in my planning, in how I run my business. That works perfectly for me. But in that capacity, in that early stages, 2011, it would have been so easy to say, oh, I'm just going to work from home. I'll sit on my sofa. I'll sit at our table. I don't need a desk. I don't need an office. And of course, not everybody needs to have, or not everybody has the capacity. And also, I don't always work at my desk. I work at cafes. I work at a member's place in town. I work on my sofa. I've worked in my bed whilst my babies have slept next to me. But there was something about carving out that space, that area, going, this is serious. This is what I want to do. This is my space for my dreams. My dreams, I'm going to get upset. My dreams matter. And it's so easy for all of us to say it doesn't matter, or it's just a little thing, because also that was how I was programmed. Like, don't be too big here. Don't be a show off. Don't really say what you want. Be kind and placid and all of those things. But if you're at a place where you're like, okay, last year was a nightmare, or gosh, everything has been thrown up in the air, even saying I'm going to create space for my dreams. And sometimes that is pulling out a yoga mat and lying on it for 5 minutes every single day, because it's those moves of creating space for your dreams, even though it might be saying to your husband, your partner, your friend, your kids, your mum, don't phone me at that time, because this is when I walk round the block for 5 minutes because I need to get my head straight. I need to create space for my dreams. And so very easily, when we moved into this place, it would have been easy to go, oh, I don't need a desk, it's fine. That desk has built my business. That desk wrote my book. That desk changed my life. £25, happy days. Number 4, it's being a really interesting moment, because even though I am in a couple, I'm very happy to be in a couple, it's made me realize who I am as an individual. And Matt tours a lot, and so before we had children, I was here on my own a lot. And it really made me think about what was my narrative, what was my story, where did I want to go with this? And I hate fairy tales, because the women never look good. They're always cleaning floors, aren't they? Or they're just kind of sitting, looking out, hoping and praying and wishing and all the rest of it. And I was fed, like I'm sure many of you were, that when you meet the person, you are complete. And there is so much around that. And very quickly, I knew that I needed to feel okay alone and independent and have that sense of who I was and what I was bringing to the table and what this meant for me as a woman as well. And so this place has allowed me, I feel like I should write it a letter. It's allowed me to be okay alone and in a couple. It's allowed me to be safe. It's allowed me to be able to meet my bills. It's allowed me to do that. So in terms of business, what does that look like? It means taking responsibility for your independence and what you need and your safety. So it can be really easy to get swept away in other people's dreams. And I see it so often, you know, or I'll have to ask my husband, or I have to do this, or, you know, we do this, this and this. Great. It's brilliant to have those couples goals, but also who are you? What do you want to bring to the table? This, my mum already is going to be, oh no, sorry, I've missed a point. I am in my living room right now, and this living room and this track around our house has allowed me to run from my desk into this living room and gone to Matty. Oh my God, I've just had this amazing idea. I think it might work. I can't stop thinking about it. I really want to do this. I feel like it could really work. Oh my goodness, I could do this, this and this and this. And so often he sat in this chair and gone, great. Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. And this has been a really interesting point wherever you are in terms of your situation in your life, being able to tell somebody and somebody to have a safe space for you to say, I'm feeling really vulnerable here. I've got an idea. I don't know if it's going to work. It might be complete shit, but I can't stop thinking about it. And that might be, and you might be somebody who's really independent. That might be you talking into your phone and you saying that idea and going, I'm going to just put it there. I have it so often with my clients as well, who will voice note me, and sometimes they'll say, I had this idea last night when I was putting the kids in the bath and I can't stop thinking about it. And I don't really know what it is, and I don't know what format it's going to take, and I don't know if it will even work. Would anybody actually buy this? But I'm putting it here because it then will start to grow. It's like when people start to throw seeds for wildflowers. Sometimes it's just, let's just see what might happen, what might reveal itself. So this running into the living room and actually saying stuff out loud has meant sometimes I have said the craziest ideas and Matt's gone, okay, great. Like, he still nodded along. And of course, he's going to call me out on my bullshit as well. Like, if I'm saying something, or if I'm going, yeah, I've been up all night doing this thing, so now I'm going to go, he'll be like, are you all right to do that? Like, he has a level of care, of course. But that feeling that you can say stuff out loud, and also he's not always my person that I say that stuff out loud to. Sometimes it's my mum, sometimes it's a business pal who knows exactly what that grind, that toughness feels and looks like. Maybe it's that. But where can you run into the equivalent of a living room and say something out loud and be willing to get it wrong? Be willing to start planting those seeds, even if you're not quite sure what they're going to look like. This house has allowed me to really step in to the rhythm of my week. And that rhythm of my week looks very different month on month, week on week, year on year. But I always come back to this sense of, one of my values is, I don't want to be somebody who dreads Mondays. I don't want to be somebody who celebrates the hump day, because I don't want to work somewhere for 5 days and hate it and then go, oh my God, it's the weekend. And then you see sometimes people, I've seen it, you go out for a roast dinner to a pub on a Sunday, and about 3 o'clock, people start to go quiet. Monday tomorrow, have a good week anyway. And I knew that I didn't want to do that. And so this rhythm of my week has changed very much over the last 10 years. And I was actually thinking, again, this is my moment where my mum's going to be like, TMI, stop sharing this. But Luna was conceived on a Monday lunchtime, everybody. That would not have happened had I not made these decisions, had we not been in this flat, had we not been in this part of our lives of making decisions. So work out what your rhythm of the week, what are the things that you really want to do but you have no capacity for at the moment. I'm gonna leave that little story right there, because again I can hear my mum in my ear like, why did you say that on the internet? Okay, outside time. This has been absolutely essential. So we're really lucky here. We live between two woods. The Hampstead Heath is up the road. We've got Ali Pally further down. Like, we've got so much outside space. We've also got a lot of residential streets, and that has been absolutely essential for my business growth. Moving, getting into my body, or getting out of my head, whatever you like to call it, however that flow is. And already I know that sometimes people go, I haven't got time, I've got so limited time anyway, how can I do that? I'm talking about thank you, yes, Monday afternoon, there we go. Yeah, it's one of those moments where 5 minutes has changed my business. Walking around the block, 5 minutes has helped me to write that email in a succinct way that feels really impactful. What I mean to say is I've been able to find the words of exactly what I want to say, and sometimes I don't find that sitting at my £25 IKEA desk. So outside time has been absolutely key for my creativity, for my ability to digest and process, because I've spoken about this so often. When you grow, you need to have that sense of being able to ground. So when I picked my word for 2021, because I'm 40 in November, I was like, my word this year is going to be fly. I'm going to fly and feel that expansion and trust all of that work that I've done over the last 25 years that allows me to do all of those things. Yes, flying has been great, but also on the flip side of that, I've needed to ground, sleep, lie down, watch telly, sit on my sofa, do all of those things as well. Because it's like with any kind of flight, you know, they have to stop to refuel. They have to stop to have a stopover, have a sleep in a hotel, all of these things. So that has really been integral to what I've needed in this moment. Struggle. There's been many moments in the last 10 years where I felt in struggle. And of course, it's all relative. And I understand my privilege, of course. It goes without saying. But for all of us living a human experience, and so much of my life on the other side has not been shared on the internet, morning, that I think this sense of easy wins has never been more important. So when I had my first baby, when my body felt completely broken, when I doubted whether I would ever feel myself ever again, my goodness, that shop down the street where I could go and buy a carton of milk and walk home, and this might be like a 7-minute activity, I was so grateful for it. And I think thinking about that in terms of your business, so whether if you're looking to get more clients, if you're feeling like your money's not flowing, if you're feeling like nobody's listening to what you're saying, if you're doubting your ideas, go back to those easy wins, or go back to those points where you go, oh, I did that. And sometimes it was like, well, I managed to go to the shop the day before yesterday, and that was okay. And I bought the milk and I didn't mess up the process. And then I came home, maybe I'll be able to do it again. The next point I want to make is this house has brought my 2 babies home, which I'm so grateful for every single day. And this was always, and I remember when I first did my coach training 10 years ago, everyone was talking about the be, do, have, and what do you want? And I put my hands up and I was like, I really want to have children. And there were so many people who were a bit like, awkward, that's not very aspirational. I was like, no, but I do. I want to have kids. Like, that was one of my goals. And so the fact that this house, I'm talking about because we've lived in this house 10 years, that we've brought these 2 babies home, and, you know, I'm so lucky for that every day. I think it's been a really good reminder to be in the present moment of your goals and seeing what's around you, and also being future focused. Because when everybody talks about goal setting, they're like, the 5-year plan, where do you want to be in 10 years? What's on your bucket list? And you have to keep checking in and making sure that actually the day-to-day life that you're having right now is what you want. So sometimes, you know, 10 years ago, for example, I was building my business. I was thinking about how I was going to do that. But also when I had my first child, even though it was really tough at the time, I had to go, but this is what you wanted. This is what you put in your goals. This was part of the process as well. So with any kind of goal setting, being really clear about, is what's happening right now making you happy, making you feel good? Is this what you want? And if not, it is something that you can change, and it's something that you can change quite quickly. Some things will take longer. Some things will need more time. It might be meeting somebody. It might be, you know, further down the line. But it's really starting to put those seeds, putting those moments in place right now. The final thing, I've got 2 more that I want to share. This house has provided a space for others, and also a space for our needs. So it's adapted so much because we came here as a couple, and we, we've had to change things around and make the space work for us because we want to have our bigger house. That's what we want to have. So it's been a space that has adapted to our needs, and that's okay as well. I think it's always been a constant work in progress, and this might be how your business works as well. But secondly as well, it's been a space for others. We've had so many, and not in COVID times clearly, but we've had so many people on our sofa, in our spare room. We've had people who have stayed for a couple of nights because they've been in a breakup. We've had so many dinners around our table where people can have too many glasses of wine and go, do you know what I'd really like to do? And I think that sense of being in life in your business as well is so important. And those reminders of what actually you're doing all of this for. So when I've had those moments in my business of growth, I have to really check that actually it's not about being able to make a snazzy video about, you know, money that I've made on the internet. It's not about being on the telly, because even though Oscar saw our advert that's on at the moment live for the first time the other morning, he was a bit like, oh, cool, I saw it. And so these pressures of like, I just want to make my kids proud, or I just want to be the boss that I know that I'm supposed to be. Great. But also making sure that you've got that capacity, that space for life as well. And it's changed. Being in this house has changed the way that we interact with our family and our friends. You know, Matt's parents live up north. My parents are divorced, so there's lots of blended moments there, and it's had that capacity, it's had that space to be able to house people, and also for people to be able to come and hang out with our kids. And that's been really nice to do it in that casual setting. And what I mean by this is, like, people always talk about the night out, but with my friends, it's always the morning after, where everybody sits around and they have breakfast, and, you know, you're just sitting on the sofa and you're watching rubbish TV. And likewise with our kids, it's like that's their moment when they're waking up in the morning and doing all of that stuff as well. The final point that I want to make is this house has allowed us, and the three things that I want to say is it's allowed us to grow, to stabilize, to surrender. And I guess a fourth one, to heal. To go into more detail, I have grown hugely in the last 10 years in every capacity, not just in age, but in size, in weight, in financials, in who I've been. Tina, hi, it's so lovely to see you. I know, out on the town, right? Those were the days. Let's do that again. But being able to grow, and that's that capacity to think, okay, let's have a go. I wrote a post about it the other day. Sometimes it's just being in the game. Sometimes it's having a go. Sometimes it's, doing all of that. Anyway, the second thing is sometimes it's about stabilizing. And what I mean by that is keeping things consistent. Just doing the do. Breakfast, because in this house, it's like, has everybody eaten? Of course they've eaten. They ate 12 minutes ago, but somebody's hungry again. Sometimes it's doing those daily things. Doing the washing, having a nice walk to the park, the really, really simple things. Those moments are so important for me to ground. Yes, of course, you can have all the snazzy stuff and the events and the London and the outside stuff. But a friend of mine once said, he was agreeing at the wedding, you've got to be able to sit on the sofa with somebody. And that's, whether you're with somebody or not, being able to sit on your own sofa is so key as well, because that's that internal moment. And those stabilizing moments are so key. So you might be like that in your business, where you're like, do you know what? I'm cool. I'm just doing the do. I'm just, I'm not chasing. I'm not being stretched. I'm not doing the things. I'm just showing up. I'm being consistent. It's like that, in an exercise class, sometimes it's like, I'm just here and I'm not going to do anything wild, but I'm just going to be here. I'm going to do the class, and then I'm going to go. And that's fine. That's where you might be in your business as well. Do that. You might then have a moment where you can then go for it again, because we do need to have rest moments too. Number 3, as part of that, is this house has been a place for surrender, for trust, for inner work of trusting when everything feels like it's pointing you in a different direction, when everybody is saying no, when you've had another week where nothing's happened, where you feel like you've been pushing something up a hill for so long and then it rolls back down and you don't just fall over this time, you're completely wiped out. I have had so many Friday nights in this house where I've sat down at 5 to 6 and gone, okay, here we go. I've had those moments. And if you've had that ever, once, twice, hundreds of times, know that you're not alone. And just because people are not saying it on the internet does not mean it is not happening. And finally, on that point, this house has allowed me to heal. And that process has been tough and hard and difficult and stretching so many times. But I have been open. Sorry, Miranda's just joined. She's like, why is she crying? And that is tough sometimes to go through those moments. But I tell you what, if you can come out the other side of that, if you can be willing to look and to explore and to listen again to that thing of what do you want, why are you doing it, what are you here to do, it will all come good in the end, kid. All right, I'm gonna save this and you can go back and listen. And I feel a bit guilty because I've barely mentioned Matt. barely mentioned him. I love him, I adore him, but that is not what this is for, because we don't really, that's another thing, we don't really talk about our relationship on the internet. It's not my bag. I know some people absolutely love it, but yeah, it's not my bag. And anyway, he does live here as well. I'm very glad that he does. And yeah, we did have a moment this morning where I mentioned the 10 years, and he said, let's do another 10 years. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. And then he went, and then we'll reassess. I was like, no, I don't think we'll live here for another 10 years. We do want to move to our dream home, which is all in, you know, the works behind the scenes, doing the do. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for being with me today. Sorry for having a bit of a cry, but this is real life, kids. And this is what's built my business, about being real, about being being emotional. No, being empathetic, being in the process of it all. I'm sending you lots of love. This is recorded. I will also set it as a podcast, so that will go live in June. Love you lots.